So you can watch this here and enjoy that chat, or enjoy this chat, or watch it there and enjoy that chat. It's up to you.
Whatever works.
There was something else. Special thanks to Hannah for going through channels and cleaning out the smut you dirty, dirty people put in there.
And by smut, whatever works, we don't mean the stuff that we don't care about. We are, of course, talking about all the stuff that is truly and purely against TOS for Discord.
Yeah. Smut,
God,
dirty,
I'm fucking tired today.
And
by smut, of course, we don't mean the stuff that we... What is going on?
Liv, you're bleeding through. Just so you know.
Yeah, I'm fixing to fix that.
Code anime. They'll recognize you.
Don't care about.
Special thing.
Of course,
So
talking about all the stuff that is truly and purely against TOS.
I got a response on the official Discord stance on gore.
I think I'm
It's
good. I'm
clear
not
as
sure.
mud as you'd
Can't
expect.
hear anything now.
We can't hear anything either. That's good, except for your voice.
Tired today.
Come on,
And by smut, of course, we don't mean the stuff that we... What is going on?
So when
Yeah,
it
I'm
comes
fixing
to
to fix that.
gore, anime, the bruises,
Okay, here we go.
are sometimes okay and they're sometimes not. So
Yeah,
talking about all
that's
the
not the
things
answer that we.
truly and purely against
It's about as close as it's
I got
gonna
a
get
response
to.
on the official
It's like,
Discord stance
somebody
on
might hit their thumb with a
gore.
hammer.
I think I'm
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I'm
Clear
not
as
sure.
mud
In
as
fact,
you'd expect.
I'll
It might
Yeah.
scare people, so that might be against Discord TOS.
We
pull
can't
up
hear
the
anything either.
exact
That's
thing
good.
they
Except for your
said to me, because I was the one who
Yeah.
sent this email. As with all things, context matters. Blood and guts is generally accepted as not okay. So if you see blood, it's not okay, apparently. In terms of things like bruises, you might bruise your thumb after a hammer swing gone wrong, which would likely be fine, but with severe bruising from an assault, might be more violent. Alternatively, a simple misswing from a hammer can cause a very shocking-looking image. Where Discord draws the line depends on the context of the situation. What we tell server owners is it's best to be respectful and thoughtful. If an image could shock people for displaying of gore or violence, it's better to delete it. You are better safe than sorry. In order to be respectful of everyone who might join your server. In other words, bruises are okay. They're about the only thing that are okay, but bruises are not okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's thanks Discord, so helpful.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
you're about as helpful as YouTube's guidelines.
The only thing that really cleared up is that blood is just not okay.
What? But vampire man.
Real blood is not
Well,
okay.
It states in there, fake blood is okay, kind of. Depends on how realistic it is, I guess.
How
Depends
about?
on the realism and depends on how virulent it is. Like if it's a severed, if it's a disembodied heart or something along those lines, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to get away with that.
Yeah.
Huh?
Maxwell, send me the advert in a DM because I'm curious what that is. Yeah. Oh, jeez. I swear there was something else though.
You'll remember it as soon as we move on to something else, guaranteed.
That's how it always happens. It always happens. It's right after the first article. It's like, oh yeah, all this other shit happened.
I am now live, so let me quickly run through my intro here. Clocks. So, hello, good evening, and welcome to Republic News. I am your hostess, Liviana. Tonight I am doing episode 8 of Liv's Precincts. The title of the episode is Joint Intelligence Operation Stormy Romulan. For those who don't know what that means, good. And with me this evening, I have two co-conspirators, Jables Boogley and Rimshee, of the Lesser
Call
Saints.
me Kyle, I just opened up a monster.
Uh-oh. All right. Of the Lesser Saints of Discord podcast, which does their pre-saint show at the same time as my own. We have joined forces this evening to fight back against, what shall we call this disrespect that we've been...
Operation fuck you.
Yeah.
We've joined forces to fight back against being disregarded and disrespected, yeah, by a certain person who shall remain nameless.
The infamous Wizard of Cause.
Nick, who keeps streaming at the same time we are, so...
He will remain nameless. Now let's name him!
Wee!
There's a total air of restraint here, trust me.
Someone is dissing vampires in my stream chat there. Vampires do suck. Yes, we do.
What do you mean we?
What, you guys didn't know I was a vampire? It's pretty common knowledge.
No, I know you're one. Why are you saying we? I'm not a vampire.
Oh,
So
well.
it's the royal we.
Yeah, that's it.
Because vampires are royalty. Obviously.
Yeah. Hey, it works for me.
So, speaking of vampires, which most celebrities probably are, you want to talk about how we don't know if Taylor Swift has a belly button or not?
That is old news. There has been a photo that came out since then, which may have been done simply to dispel that bit of information. But there was a photo of her in a bikini.
Whoa, robot.
Oh, am I roboting?
Yeah, but you were roboting throughout that little speech right there.
Oh, okay. I think it should fix itself.
Good now.
Yeah, there was a...
Yeah, but... yeah. We all know that picture could easily be photoshopped.
Oh, of course it was.
Not even Photoshop. She works in Hollywood. They could have done like some prosthetics, get a makeup designer in there and everything. I'm convinced that she doesn't have a belly.
Yeah, my sister knows how to do movie makeup. She's taken plenty of classes and has actually done work professionally at like haunted houses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows how to do that, and that's actually not that hard.
So Rimshee, here's your mission.
It's Kyle, remember?
Oh, sorry, Kyle. Here's your mission. Go to your sister, get a belly button on your face, just to prove it can be done.
It'll take some time.
Yeah, it's fine. That's all we have.
We have nothing but.
So,
all right, so this is from...
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, my son?
His neighbors just decided to rearrange their apartment. So, I might be muting myself. Okay, for that.
Good.
So, yeah. Article from the cut. There's no proof Taylor Swift has a belly button. One little disgusted vet. Disappointing. Taylor Swift, 24, appears to have made the transition this summer. Yeah. 4 times in the past 6 weeks, Swift has been photographed wearing a fitted crop top with a matching high-waisted flared skirt. I say this not in a catty, she must really love that crop top way. Wearing variations on the same outfit every day is one of the chief consolations of growing up. It looks good every time. But Taylor Swift, who looks tall and thin, even standing next to BFF Carly Kloss, could pull off whatever unforgiving outfits get sent down runways. Why would she choose a uniform? Choose a uniform that, by exposing the narrowest part of the waist, flatters most. One cut theory is that it allows Taylor Swift to capitulate to the crop top trend without exposing her belly button, thereby maintaining android-level physical perfection. Belly buttons, like nipples, are reminders that women are animals, not Photoshop illustrations. Another is that it's the most ladylike way to cool off. She's an android and a role model.
Okay, I gotta say, if she's an android, they would have put a belly button on there. They would have put the most generic belly button on there just to hide that fact.
No, you know what it is,
The reality
Rimshee.
is she's a clone.
Yes, exactly. That's what the deal is. They have all this cloning thing going on throughout the entertainment industry. I mean, have you seen Helen Hunt and Lily Sobieski? And if you think that's bad, there's this Irish vocalist who looks just like them, except she has black hair. But of course, we know they can dye their hair. Then we've got Bruce Dern and Brad Dourif. Huh? I mean, the list goes on and on.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's even BD.
Maxwell, wait, are you saying she had to...
They might have just forgot to put the belly button on.
Yeah,
Sometimes
but
you forget little
Android...
details like that.
Oh my
Printing
god.
a new Android overskin is easier than Photoshopping. It just
That's
goes
why
right
it's
over the
Photoshop.
endoskeleton.
Yeah. Well, I guess, but she looks pretty fleshy. I mean, sometimes it takes a long time to grow flesh like that. So, yeah.
No, she's a clone. You're right. You got it right, Rimshee. She's a clone.
Alright.
I'm sorry, Kyle.
Hold on, I got something talking to me and I don't know where it's coming from.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
One of the other articles decided to start talking. It's being fucking stupid.
yeah, they're
Is it
great
the
like
opposite?
that, aren't they?
Yeah, why is it that news sites are the worst? Like, their layouts are terrible, they have random pop-ups and autoplay videos all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are news sites the worst at creating websites?
They suck.
It's just,
They gotta
It's
get
just
that
news.
money.
yeah, but it's just news. Like, you can have a pretty generic site.
Yeah.
My MySpace page was less messy than these news sites. Trust me, it was pretty fucking messy.
MySpace was just a horrible
I've
thing.
skipped IHS
Oh my god,
because of
no,
the cost.
what the fuck? I got one of them happening too.
I think I know which one.
Which one was it? What's the NBC?
It was The Hill.
No, it was Telesur. I stopped loading the Hill before they got their video loaded, motherfuckers. Alright. So, let me jump in with a news article here. This is from NBC. Ministers interrupt sessions are removed from Religious Freedom Conference. The Attorney General was speaking at a conference on the future of religious liberty when two ministers challenged his fealty to the Bible. This is by Alex Johnson. It was published on the 29th of October. Attorney General Jeff Sessions' speech at a religious freedom conference on Monday was interrupted by two pastors who were summarily removed from the premises as Sessions described the remarks as an attack. Sessions was defending the Trump administration's campaign against what it calls discriminatory religious laws during a conference on the future of religious liberty organized by the Boston Lawyers chapter of the Federalist Society, a nonprofit conservative legal group. Shortly into his remarks, the Reverend Will Green, pastor of Ballard Vale United Church, a joint United Methodist Church / Church of Christ congregation in Andover stood up and began addressing the Attorney General. Brother Jeff, quote, Brother Jeff, as a fellow United Methodist, I call upon you to repent, to care for those in need, end quote. Green then recited Matthew 25:42-43, which begins, quote, For I was hungry and you did not feed me, I was a stranger and you did not welcome me, end quote. Sessions replied, quote, Well, thank you for those remarks and attack, but I would just tell you we do our best every day, end quote. After security officers escorted Green out of the room, a second minister, the Reverend Darrell Hamilton II, the pastor for Formation and Outreach at the First Baptist Church of Jamaica Plain in Boston, then rose to his defense. He said, quote, That is a person that represents the Christian tradition, the faith that everyone here professes to believe in, actually sharing the words of Jesus himself, the words of Jesus that are represented in the book of Isaiah, end quote. Security then began escorting Hamilton out as some in the audience booed and heckled him, and he said, quote, I thought we were here to protect religious liberty, sir. I thought we were here to protect religious liberty, end quote. Hamilton said, quote, I'm a pastor of a Baptist church and you are escorting me out for exercising my religious freedom. That is very hypocritical for this group of people to be wanting to be protecting religious freedom while you are escorting me out for doing that work, end quote. Sessions resumed his prepared remarks after saying, quote, Thank you all for your comments and we're glad to hear them, but that's pretty close to what we refer to as the heckler's veto, the ability of one individual to prevent others in a proper forum to be able to express a hopefully coherent thought about a serious subject, end quote. In an interview with Religion News Service afterward, Green said he interrupted Sessions, quote, because his entire political agenda is antithetical to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I think I have a responsibility to call him to account about the harm he's doing, end quote. Hamilton said in an email message to Religion News Service, quote, Jeff Sessions is not a champion of true religious liberty, and as a Baptist preacher in the long legacy of Baptist preachers such as Roger Williams and John Leyland, I disrupted Jeff Sessions to defend the protection of both soul and religious freedom of all people as a true witness of Christian religion practice, end quote. Sessions' aggressive pursuit of some parts of Trump's agenda has created discord within the United Methodist Church, of which Sessions is a member and for which he has long taught Sunday school classes. Let's see, this goes on a little bit longer. I think that's enough, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
It's literally two more paragraphs.
Yeah, well.
It's just more circle jerking.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it describes like exactly what they yeah, so they're just talking about the zero tolerance policies on immigration.
Yeah.
That's why they were bad. Which is weird because they also didn't Trump make it so that pastors are able to preach from the pulpit, like get people, sway voters from the pulpit? Didn't he do that?
I don't think that's possible, no.
I don't know.
I heard something about that.
Was that, as far as I know, that should have always been a thing. You could easily make the argument that, hey, they can sway people from the pulpit by preaching, hey, this is what we believe, and since you believe this is who we should vote for based on our faith.
No, they can't do that.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah.
Separation of church and state. They're not allowed to do that and maintain a nonprofit.
They can speak about.
I'm not going to argue with the ethicality of it. I'm saying I think that it is permitted.
No,
it's the same thing as.
No, it's not. You cannot endorse any particular candidate from the pulpit. You can talk about issues, yes, but you can't endorse any candidate.
It's the same rules as a nonprofit organization.
Right.
It's. I still think that that's bullshit because prime example would be Planned Parenthood. They're getting taxpayer money and they're using it to get people to They're giving it to candidates and to ballot initiatives in order to sway the vote. If they're getting tax money, none of that money.
Here's the difference. Planned Parenthood isn't a nonprofit.
It's still getting taxpayer money. It shouldn't be able. It's
getting taxpayer money, but it also pays taxes. Churches and nonprofits do not pay taxes.
Right.
That's why they're not allowed to do that.
Also, Planned Parenthood.
I don't think either one should.
Also, Planned Parenthood never.
Well, if they paid taxes, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Planned Parenthood never endorsed a candidate until 2016 when they endorsed Hillary Clinton, and since that time I've given them not another dime. Same thing goes for several other supposed women's organizations, the Human Rights Campaign, which is the kind of the big name LGBTI advocate group. I don't give them any money because they all endorsed.
Advocate group?
Huh?
The Alphabet Soup Advocate Group?
Yeah, I don't like to use all those different letters. I just say LGBTI. That's enough. Anything else should be able to fall under one of those letters.
No, see here. No, it's LGBTQAAI.
No. And don't even start with the quilt bag thing, because that's just offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, but the issue is that churches, they have closed books. Government can't see their books at all. So we don't know what's going on with that money, for one thing. Nonprofits have to have open books. But also on top of that, they both don't pay taxes because they're not profits or they're religions. So that's why they're not allowed to endorse candidates. They can definitely discuss issues and everything, but they aren't allowed to specifically endorse who to vote for.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can endorse to vote a certain way on like certain bills and stuff, right? Because that's discussing issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If they pay taxes, I'm more than happy to let them
say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah. So, but it all, I don't know. Separation of church and state's getting all wonky.
Mm-hmm. I do want to point out,
those of you that are religious out there, freedom of religion also means freedom from religion.
yes, it does. I also want to point out that the Baptist guy who was talking about soul liberty and referencing Roger Williams was speaking in a long line of Baptist tradition. Roger Williams established the first Baptist church in America back in the 1600s in Providence. After leaving, I guess, the Pilgrim, Puritan, whatever they were, in Massachusetts, he went out and started his own colony over there in Rhode Island, and established the very first Baptist church before the United States was the United States, and it is still there to this day. I mean, I guess they've got new buildings and stuff, but the First Baptist Church of Providence is the first Baptist church in America. But one of the things that Williams taught very explicitly was the idea of soul liberty. Until rather recently, I guess in the 90s, the idea of the priesthood of the believer in the Baptist Faith and Message, which is the Confession of Faith of the Southern Baptist Convention, the largest Baptist group in America, was taken to also mean that individual believers had the right to interpret the Bible for themselves. But after the fundamentalists took over in about the mid-'80s, because there is a difference between evangelicals and fundamentalists, and there are two different kinds of fundamentalists, but basically in the mid-'80s, the fundamentalists took over the Southern Baptist Convention, which had previously been evangelical-dominated. Anyway, after they took over, they kind of nixed that so that now they think they have only the ministers have the right to interpret the Bible for you, which is what the Catholic Church has done historically. That even in Vatican II documents, there's a document that says the religious must make the believer, what does it say? I can't remember the exact word, but anyway, people must make a religious submission of the intellect and will to all four classes of statements by the magisterium. And only one of those 4 classes of statements is supposed to be, quote, infallible, unquote. But according to this document, it doesn't matter. You have to submit your intellect and will to these statements, even when they're inconsistent with one another or contradict other statements by the magisterium and so forth. But yeah, soul liberty is a very interesting concept in the Baptist tradition, and also
a little bit of roboting there.
Roger Williams then later went on to become a separatist, he called himself, and he left the Baptist Church and just did his own Christian thing without any particular dogma. And then after that, he became a seeker, where he wasn't tied to any kind of Christianity at all and was just roaming around trying to find his path.
Yeah. And this is why we have over 40,000, or probably a lot more than that, different denominations of Christianity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in
Nobody
John,
can agree on anything.
chapter 17 of John has a statement that is the prayer of Jesus, saying, my prayer for them is that they all be one, as I am one with you, Father, and the world will know that they are Christians because they are one, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that didn't work out real well, did it? Hell, in any given southern town of any size, you're going to have at least 2 and probably 3 different Southern Baptist churches, not to mention, Landmark Baptists, Primitive Baptists. Free Will Baptists are a little different because they came out of the Anglican tradition instead of, the Southern Baptists and these guys are more Calvinistic, whereas the Free Will Baptists are more Arminian. So they came through the Methodist Church, out of the Methodist Church, and formed their group. But yeah, that didn't work out too well.
Yeah. So,
I gotta say though, my new setup has already made this podcast a lot easier to deal with.
yeah. With that said, let's lighten things up a little bit and find out what happens when you drink an entire bottle of weed lube.
Uh-oh.
Don't worry, Liv. I'll share this in the text.
Killing it with transitions today. It's freaking.
I'll go ahead and read this one.
Yeah.
What happens when you drink an entire bottle of weed lube? After suffering chronic yeast infections for years, I thought all natural THC lubricant would be the answer to my prayers. Instead, it put me in the depths of hell, in the depths of a hell of my own making. Fucking talking. I got my first yeast infection at age 11. Right after, God, this is weird. This is probably weird hearing coming out of my voice. I got my first yeast infection at age 11, right after my first period. I was in middle school, which made the experience all the more hellish. I remember realizing that I was becoming a woman, though I didn't exactly know what that meant, and desperately trying to convince myself that the things happening to my body were good and positive. I took comfort in the fact that soon this would all lead to me having boobs. And then I transitioned.
I think Rimshee, you're the perfect person to read this, especially for this next paragraph. I already read it.
My vagina was a bloody, yeasty war zone.
Oh my God.
To top it all off, I wasn't even old enough to understand what was happening. Though I had been through sex ed, and I had been raised by a mother who firmly believed in blunt honesty when talking with children about sex. No one thought to tell me about yeast infections. I began to wonder if this is just what it's like to have a vagina. Maybe all grown women experience this kind of pain in their vaginas all the time, and it's only bothering me because I'm not used to it. Or because I'm a wimp. But soon I told my mother about the itching and burning, and she explained what was going on. This was followed by a traumatizing experience involving my mother inserting a little egg-shaped ball of antifungal cream into my vagina.
Oh, goodness.
What the shit? God. This is just Jables doing his best to find weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he actually intended for me to read this, but let's continue.
I intended it.
These yeast infections annoyingly persisted, and when I became sexually active with my first boyfriend around age 15, the frequency increased dramatically. This is when I discovered that my vagina is allergic to just about everything. All latex condoms and about 99% of store-bought lubricants will cause me to have a crippling yeast infection.
Holy crap.
And they're... Hey, Chris, what do you think about this coming out of my mouth, of all people? Okay, where was I? My natural predisposition towards getting yeast infections, combined with my historically slutty behavior, and extreme passivity in terms of telling my partners when something is going to give me a yeast infection, has caused me to have at least one per month for my entire adult life.
Swallow.
God damn one! Get your vag under control. Thankfully, I'm in a committed relationship now, and I am past the point of being too embarrassed to tell my boyfriend when something is going to set my vagina on fire. Like a lighter. I'm proud to say that I haven't had a yeast infection for a few months now, which is truly a blessing. Please congratulate me on this next time you see me.
Oh, God. Wow.
This is great.
Oh. When I heard about Foria, an all-national, all-national.
Are we getting into alt-right territory? Is that what's
Yeah.
No, it's an all-national, all-natural coconut marijuana lubricant. I thought it would be life-changing. It felt like the product was made specifically for me because it combined my 3 favorite things in the entire world: weed, sex, and coconut oil. That is a weird combination. The only lubricant I've ever been able to use without getting a yeasty. I got to pause right here and ask, do people actually call it a yeasty, or is this woman just fucking crazy?
I've never heard that.
Okay, I've never heard that either.
Well, I mean, you kids have all kinds of terms that I've never heard before. I got called a smoke show and a dime piece one time, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I had to go to Urban Dictionary and look it up. I found out they were compliments, but, it was kind of weird because I'd never heard them before. I had no idea what you guys were talking about. I mean, it wasn't you guys, it was, who the hell was it?
Other people in the Discord.
Yeah, other people.
We all blend together at some point. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in there and been like, did I say that? No, it was this person. Anyway.
I know the things that I've said.
Yeah, well, you're the one who we always have to keep in check.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I can't keep it in check.
Yeah, we don't always succeed. I got a bottle of Foria as soon as I could and ran home, excited to test it out. Following the instructions, I squatted pantsless over my toilet and sprayed the lubricant all over my clitoris. God, every time I read that, I just hear it in Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
Oh yeah, because of that 50 Shades of Grey reading.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know if you've listened to that, Liv.
Yeah, I've heard it.
It's funny. I squatted pantsless over my toilet and sprayed the lubricant all over my clitoris, outer labia, and the inside of my vagina. And while I have heard rave reviews about Phoria from people who are generally not into being stoned, I'm into being stoned. I did feel a euphoric, relaxing sensation in my body and genitals during sex with Phoria, but I was disappointed that I wasn't actually high. I love the idea of consuming THC through my vagina, but the weed lube was just not having the psychoactive effects on me that edibles normally have.
Well, yeah, it's not supposed to. I mean,
yes, Cats, you're right on. Cats, you're right on time for me to say clitoris.
Yeah. And also, fun fact, people: the reason why edibles have such a this is educational time. The reason why edibles have such a different effect than smoking is because when it's processed through your liver, it creates a different compound that interacts with you in a different way psychoactively. Fun facts about the weed.
Oh. So I did what any normal stoner would do in this situation. I drank the lube.
oh my god.
And here's a picture of her. I have no idea what's going on. But let's keep going. Now, this isn't as irrational as it sounds. Bullshit. When I bought the bottle of Phoria at my local dispensary, the bud tender, a young woman about my age, mentioned that she also purchased a bottle and then quickly realized that she had spent $80 on a bottle of lube but didn't have anyone to have sex with. She told me that
God.
She told me that she'd experimented with spraying it in her mouth and realized that it does, in fact, get you high. I guess if you have lube that's technically edible and no one to fuck, yeah, spray it in your mouth.
Wait, you've never eaten lube?
Hearing this was a huge comfort for me.
Oh my god.
Even if I didn't like it as a lubricant, at least at the very least, I could spray some in my mouth and catch a buzz, right? Oh boy. But when it comes to edibles, my thing has generally been to eat 2 or 3 times more than what my bud tender recommends. They will usually say something like, only 1/4 of this cookie because it's very strong, and I immediately assume that they're talking down to me. I get defensive and angry when people think I can't handle my drugs, which inevitably leads me to eat the entire edible to prove them wrong. I know this reaction. Are you sure you didn't transition, Jables?
I don't know.
I know this reaction is insane and illogical. Even if the dispensary employees see me coming into their store multiple times per week, it is their job to know how strong the products are and to warn their consumers about it so they don't have a bad time. They always know better than me, yet I never, ever listen.
Yeah, I had the issue
fuck.
with some mushroom caramels a few weeks ago. Should have listened.
Cats, Cynic, do yourself a favor and rewind to the beginning of this specific article.
Yeah, you can hear all about Rimshee's yeast infections.
Yeah, yeah. And why are you not watching on my channel, Cats? Now I'm very disappointed.
Oh.
Actually, she very well may.
Shots fired. Yeah, I know Maxwell's been doubling up.
Yeah. My experience, the experience I had drinking Foria, however, was in a completely different category from my other experiences with edibles. A bottle of Foria has 450 milligrams of THC in it. I didn't know this. A suggested dose for most edibles is about 25 milligrams, and that is already a lot. If you ask me, if I was going to give and that's already a lot if you ask me. If I was going to give an edible to a friend who didn't smoke as much weed as me, and I wanted them to have a nice time, I would probably give them 10 to 15 milligrams. Well, I drank the entire bottle. All 450 milligrams of the THC down my idiotic gullet.
Ugh.
Holy shit. For a little bit of context for you non-weed smokers,
Like
there
me.
used to be a place near me when weed first got legalized. They were letting people get away with doing deliveries from stores, and there was this company that had 75 milligram bottles of pink lemonade. It's fantastic shit. However, I was sitting down, just sipping on the pink lemonade, playing video games. I got about a third of the way through the bottle, and I just sunk into my chair, and I got lost in my video game, even with the map. So, that's a shit ton. That's like Joey Coco Diaz levels of THC. And if you don't know who that is, get more into stand-up comedy.
All right. Yeah, down my idiotic gullet. I assumed it had very little THC in it, and that's why it didn't get me high when I put it in my vagina. As it turns out, that was because THC is absorbed differently through your vagina than through your digestive system. No shit.
See, I was right in my education segment. Well,
I was still undressed and in a state of disarray from the sex we just had when my boyfriend came out of the bathroom and saw me furiously glancing at the Foria bottle I had just drank with horror and disgust. "What's wrong?" he said, probably assuming I felt another yeast infection coming on. "I drank it," I said, tears welling up in my eyes.
God.
"You drank a bottle of lube," he said flatly, sounding not at all surprised to find out that's what I had done. "Yeah," I said. It has 45 times the recommended dose of THC in it, which I didn't realize when I drank it. Now I'm afraid."
I really like this girl, honestly. Sounds
My
like my lady.
boyfriend comforted me by mentioning how it was almost time to go to bed. Anyway, so the worst case scenario would be waking up a little groggy the next day, right? Nope. I was high for the next 3 days.
Oh,
3 full
boo-hoo.
days. As I write this now, I still sort of feel like I am coming down. Oh, man.
I remember a time when I was stoned for 3 days. That was after like a week of smoking over a quarter ounce a day and eating pot on top of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was like a half an ounce a day smoker for a while. No, less than half an ounce. No, that's too much. Sorry. Weed brain. Yeah, I smoked a lot of weed for a long period of time. I think I was high for an entire year.
Good God. No, I mean, I was constantly stoned anyway, but this was like 3 days after I hadn't smoked or eaten any. I was still stoned, and I was a little bit concerned if I had, permanently damaged myself in some way. And if I'd known one way or the other, am I going to come down or am I going to stay stoned for the rest of my life, I could have just sat back and enjoyed it. It wouldn't have mattered, but it concerned me. So, you know, I think her biggest issue there, though, was the fact that it had coconut oil in it too, and that stuff is, you know, a lot of fat to take in at once.
Well, the coconut oil, like THC, is fat soluble.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why a lot of people use coconut oil with their baked goods. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hints to any future edible makers. Also, don't bake at a high heat, low and slow.
I better tell Miss Rimshee.
Yeah. Well, you either use butter or coconut oil. You just need something fatty to get the THC absorbed in.
I've known some people.
Well, she's currently doing a version of the keto diet called Code Red, and so it's high fat, and so
I've known some people.
I get to have bacon every day. I'm not upset about this.
I've known some.
Actually, bacon. You can actually make THC bacon grease, so you can fry everything up in that.
I've known some people who made marijuana butter before. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm gonna keep going on this. But when I'm not writing, I work as a nanny. The next day I was due to wake up at 6 a.m. and take care of an extremely high-energy infant until 8 p.m. Right before the phoria kicked in, I went into crisis mode and begged the baby's other nanny to cover for me. Thank God she agreed to cover. Otherwise, I would probably be dead from living out every stoner's worst nightmare. Being in charge of someone else's baby while too stoned to function. However, I wasn't entirely saved. That night, I had what felt like one 12-hour-long nightmare about repeatedly losing the baby in various situations. I lost the baby in a mall, in a movie theater, at my high school, in my boyfriend's house, etc. I woke up the next morning and cried at my boyfriend about how badly I didn't want to go to Disneyland, despite the fact that we had no plans to go to Disneyland that day or ever. After calming me down, he tucked me back into bed with a big bag of salt and vinegar potato chips and turned on Gilmore Girls. After hallucinating that Lauren Graham's face was morphing into Ryan Gosling's face.
Huh, you know, they kind of do look similar.
For just a few seconds at a time, such that nobody besides me had ever noticed, I proceeded to nap for 4 hours. I woke up with potato chips all over my body, then asked my boyfriend to help me wash off in the shower because I didn't feel capable of doing that on my own. I also vaguely remember having a mild panic attack about the fact that I didn't know where our cat was. We don't have a cat.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Days are a blur of snacking and crying. There are 10 text threads on my phone that I don't remember typing, and mysteriously empty bags of Cheetos strewn about my apartment.
I think the mystery's solved about the Cheetos.
Drinking Foria weed lube. Rating 2 out of 5 stars. Note, I do not recommend drinking a full bottle of any kind of lube, including and especially not weed lube. Although a few sprays of the weed lube in your mouth would probably lead to a mild, pleasant high.
Goodness. Wow, wow, wow.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love
Holy shit. I don't know what to say to that.
Gold mine of an article that I had to use for the crossover.
All right, so there are 2 big stories in the news this week. I'm going to talk about the international one first. So, as you guys are, I'm sure, aware, Brazil has elected a new president who's being described in various ways: far-right, neo-Nazi, fascist, militarist, all kinds of stuff. There's been a lot of chatter about it in some of the other servers I'm in. There are, of course, people on both sides of that, and it's been an ongoing kind of sniping back and forth at each other. I've stayed out of it for the most part because I just want to see what they're, how they're gonna interact with each other. It's kind of amusing.
Is this Bolsonaro?
Yeah,
article?
Jair Bolsonaro. So I have an article here from Telesur English that says, or Telesur America, or whatever they are.
TelesurEnglish.net.
It's Telesur English. So the article is Bolsonaro vows to leave UN. It's where communists meet.
I love it.
Brazil.
This may actually be able to follow that article.
Yeah.
This is from the 28th of October. Brazil's right-wing presidential candidate Jair Bolsonaro threatened to take Brazil out of the UN, what he calls a meeting place for communists. As Brazilians are at the polls on Sunday deciding between leftist Workers' Party Fernando Haddad and the far-right Jair Bolsonaro in a runoff presidential competition, comments from Bolsonaro are resurfacing where the Social Liberal Party PSL candidate said that if elected he would pull Brazil from the United Nations because it's full of communists. The former army captain announced at a military ceremony held in Rio de Janeiro on July the 22nd, quote, "If I am president, I will leave the UN. That institution is of no use," end quote. Bolsonaro, who has been nationally and internationally criticized for his sexist, racist, authoritarian, and neoliberal comments, said during the event 3 months ago, quote, "I will leave the UN. It's no good. It's a meeting place for communists and people who have no commitment to South America," end quote. The comments are part of a long series of controversial statements made by far-right Bolsonaro over the past several years. In 2011, he told Playboy magazine that he, quote, "would be incapable of loving a homosexual son," end quote. And in a 2016 documentary, Bolsonaro claimed that homosexuality had increased over the decades due to, quote, "liberal habits, drugs, and because women began to work," end quote. In 2017, at a speech in Rio de Janeiro, he said that, quote, "Afro-descendants do nothing. I do not think they even serve as reproducers," end quote. The candidate also promotes anti-feminist policies and gender inequality. The Brazilian candidate has gained wide acceptance and voter support in South America's largest economy, capitalizing on quote, "social frustrations that have permeated society in Brazil and in Latin America in general," end quote. Pablo Meriguet Calle, historian and expert in anti-fascist movement, told Telesur in a prior interview. Yeah,
there's the entire article.
That's it. And I remember one of the things that I have seen that he's supposed to have said was that Augusto Pinochet didn't kill enough people.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
He probably said he didn't kill enough communists.
No, he said people, actually, according to what I read, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's why, I mean, he probably said communists. But, to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised.
Rimshee, don't be mean to the lady from the previous article.
I'm not
It's
being mean.
harmless.
I'm being honest. I don't admire her research or reasoning skills. This weed. This is weed lube. I'll put it all in my gullet, without reading any of the label or anything like that.
I do. But anyways, so yeah, I started off liking this guy, and then I slowly didn't like this guy so much.
I'm indifferent towards him, mostly because I don't know much about him, and I don't much care about down there as long as it doesn't affect us up here.
Well, it affects our friend Brainwash from the Discord.
Fair point. Brainwash, move up here. Same with you, Bar.
Yeah.
Not that you're in any danger right now, but do it anyway!
all the other people outside of the U.S. just move over here. It'll be fine.
Oh, I don't think.
Get you guys jobs.
I don't think the current administration would be too happy with that.
Well, as long as they're doing it legally, the current administration wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I can get you guys jobs. The company I'm working for is hiring like crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All you have to do is massage his prostate.
No. Denied.
Just a little bit.
I don't blame you.
Access point through the cane. Okay.
Funny you say that. My coveralls at work have the crotch blown out, so I am very glad that I have pants that I wear underneath.
I'm not even gonna ask how that happened.
I'm
not even gonna ask.
I'm an electrician,
Right.
so sometimes the higher-ups just like to ram it up your ass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of my time in the military.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oof. So yeah, Brainwash, if you're listening, I hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you in the Discord in a couple days, so that's giving me a concern. Yeah. Oh, this is just a weird one. Oh, what else do we have coming up?
Let's see. You did have that mattress thing.
We covered the two I really wanted to cover. I don't care too much about the mattress thing unless you want to cover it. We haven't have time for like 2 articles. So.
Well, I did just see one in
the.
I did see an potentially interesting article in Voice Text 1.
What's that?
Florida man. It's a Florida man article, but it's not your standard Florida man article. Here, it's in the text chat.
Okay. Yeah, because Yahoo wants me to enable cookies. Like, I'm going to do that. Oh, this is a good Florida man article.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Let me get it loaded up real quick.
Florida man kicks bear to save dog.
Hey, Channel 7 News in Miami, you actually know how to make a website. That's awesome.
That's clean.
Yeah. Load it up quick. It's clean. Beautiful. All right.
Brainwashed is alive. I spoke to him on Halloween. Unfortunately, I was too drunk to hold a decent convo. Congrats, cats.
All right. So Florida man kicks bear to save dog.
Look at that puppers.
Yeah, cute little puppy. A Florida man kicked bear to save his beloved dog from being attacked. According to Fox 35, the Fulgham family saw a group of bears in their backyard and initially wasn't worried. However, the situation quickly went from cute to deadly when one of the bears attacked the family's Yorkie, bitch, I don't know how to say it, mixed gator after he managed to get out of the door. Oh, he's named Gator? That's cute. He's a little dog who thought he was huge, but he's little. Dog syndrome. Fulgham's husband, David, rushed outside to get Gator. However, a bear already had the dog clenched between its jaws. David, wanting to save his beloved pet, then kicked the bear, making it let go of Gator. He said he was face to face with it. He just drop kicked it, said Fulgham. The couple rushed Gator to the vet, where doctors performed life-saving surgery. Gator survived the surgery, but he's now fighting for his life.
Aww.
Fox 35 reported that the total cost of the bill was now up to $12,000. However, the family said it was worth it to save Gator. He's like his therapy dog. When his dad passed away, he was there. Our son died in June of last year, so he's been his best friend, said Randy Fulgham.
God damn.
The Fulghams have since set up a GoFundMe account to help cover the cost of Gator's bills. Yes, I'm down for that.
I mean, dude drop kicked a fucking bear.
Yeah, here, let me see what their GoFundMe's at now. Yeah, drop kicking a bear to save your dog, and it's your therapy dog because, you know.
It's at
Oh, they only have,
3,000.
yeah, okay, so.
They're only a quarter of the way there.
Yeah, so that link I'm dropping into the description right now.
Dude drop kicked a bear. On that alone, I'm willing to donate.
Yeah.
Oh, tell Bard that we might kick him then.
Tell Bar that we might kick him?
Yeah,
To be fair,
what
to be
Cats
fair,
and
Cats,
Ladies
I
said.
wouldn't have done it for this dog, but the fact that dude did drop kick a bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright.
Okay.
You guys probably can't see it unless you refresh, but the link will be in the description for you to see later.
Yes, and I'm including all of these links in my video description as well.
So here's the question I have for you. Would you drop kick a bear?
Depends on the
But
size of the bear.
forget that it's for this dog. Would you drop kick a bear? Or would you rather just spray weed lube in its mouth?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, if you're lucky, it might get a yeast infection.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know, man. My dad used to tell me to be careful, because I'm kind of a night person, and I used to do a lot of my shopping in the middle of the night and stuff. He would try to give me these horror stories, you know, about getting robbed and shit, and I'd be like, Dad, I'm the thing in the dark you're supposed to be afraid of.
Yeah.
So the other big story this week has been Trump talking shit about ending birthright citizenship. He tweeted out something 2 or 3 days ago, I guess, where he was kind of, you know, posturing that he was going to do this, and after people pointed out that, well, let me just read. This is from the 30th. Trump says he will sign executive order banning birthright citizenship. President Trump said in a new interview released Tuesday that he will sign an executive order intended to end the practice of birthright citizenship. He said during an interview with Axios, quote, "It was always told to me that you needed a constitutional amendment. Guess what? You don't," end quote. Axios reports that the White House is preparing an order that would declare an end to the long-standing staple of America's immigration system that would set up a new battle for Trump at the Supreme Court over the 14th Amendment, which states that all persons, quote, born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, end quote. Trump, in the interview with Axios, insisted it was possible to make the change through an executive order in addition to an act of Congress. Quote, you can definitely do it with an act of Congress, but now they're saying I can do it just with an executive order, end quote, the president added before stating incorrectly, quote, we're the only country in the world where a person comes in and has a baby and the baby is essentially a citizen of the United States with all of those benefits, end quote. Canada also has birthright citizenship, as do most of the nations in South and Central America. The United States and Canada are two of the only developed countries in the West to have birthright citizenship. However, the full Trump interview is set to air Sunday on Axios on HBO. Trump refers to the right of citizenship granted to anyone born within the country's borders as ridiculous and expressed surprise that anyone outside of the Oval Office knew about the White House's plans. Quote, it's ridiculous, and it has to end. I didn't think anybody knew that but me. I thought I was the only one, end quote. Yeah, the president's reported plan to end birthright citizenship comes amid some of his administration's strongest rhetoric surrounding a caravan of thousands of Central American migrants bound for the U.S., where many members plan to apply for asylum. And Trump has been turning to his core issue of immigration as the midterm elections approach. The midterms will be a test for Trump as Democrats are seen as the favorites to retake the House majority. Republicans are favored to keep their Senate majority. Trump has made controversial and derogative remarks about the migrant caravan, which is now in Mexico. He's referred to it as an invasion of migrants and some very bad people. Quote, please go back. You will not be admitted into the United States unless you go through the legal process. This is an invasion of our country and our military is waiting for you, end quote, the president tweeted Monday. Let's see. And from a tweet on the 29th from Donald Trump, quote, many gang members and some very bad people are mixed into the caravan heading to our southern border. Please go back. You will not be admitted to the United States unless you go through the legal process. This is an invasion of our country and our military is waiting for you, end quote. So that's the end of that article. And this thing about how the executive order can end birthright citizenship, no, it can't. We have in our Constitution a separation of powers between executive, judiciary, and legislative branches. Section.
Hold on. The thing is that he can enact it, but it can then be challenged by the rest of the branches. That's more accurate than what he's actually been saying.
Section 1.
He can put it on the executive order, and it can be then shut down by others.
Section 1 of Amendment 14 reads, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, end quote. Now, Trump, after someone had pointed this out to him, he says that because it says subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that he can do it. No. Let me translate this into predicate logic. Let me translate this Wait.
This is actually a big... this is a constitutional debate that... It depends on how it's looking at, and if you actually look at some of the prior text, it does, or some of the decision text, it actually does state that technically this is only supposed to apply to people who are born in the United States to people who are citizens of the United States. However,
that's one way of looking at it. There's two different ways of looking at it.
That's where it originated. But on the other hand, there was a Supreme Court case where I think it was in the late 1800s, where the son of a couple of Chinese immigrants who had spent his entire life in the United States, pretty much, had gotten to a Supreme Court battle over him having citizenship, and because they were non-citizens at the time, the U.S. was denying him citizenship, but he won that court battle. And
All right.
he was able to have citizenship.
Let me reread the first sentence of Section 1 of Amendment 14. All persons born in or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, comma, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, I'm going to translate that into predicate logic. For any X, if X be open parentheses, open brackets, born in the U.S., close brackets, or open brackets, naturalized in the U.S., close brackets, close parentheses, and open parentheses, subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S., close parentheses, then X is, open parentheses, a citizen of the U.S., close parentheses, and open parentheses, a citizen of the state in which they reside, close parentheses. It doesn't mean that the citizenship of this X is somehow subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. It means that the citizen is subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S., as well as either born or naturalized in the U.S. And in that case, then that X is in fact a motherfucking citizen. Nothing fucking Trump can do about that. It would take an act of Congress to amend the Constitution, and if he tries to pull an executive order, it's going to be thrown out by the Supreme Court. Now, just how in the hell would someone born or naturalized in the U.S. not be subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. unless they were resident in another country or had surrendered their citizenship? And if they be not subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S., then how the hell can anything Trump do affect them in the first goddamn place? He's an idiot.
Well, the debate has been that since if the parents are illegal immigrants, they are not technically subject to laws in the U.S. because they're still even if we go abroad, we're still subject to the laws of the U.S.
Right.
Regardless.
But
and
the kid would be.
So the kid
not
technically would
necessarily.
That's
I mean, it depends on how it's
That's
viewed.
the whole debate.
That's the whole debate.
I agree. I agree. It'll be shut down by the Supreme Court, regardless. So.
Yeah, but I would say it'd be shut down based on precedents from that. I'd say it'd be shut down based on the precedent from that prior court case I mentioned.
I agree with your translation. I'm just throwing out the other argument.
And the thing is that they have actually used this to deny the children of, say, ambassadors or other individuals who were born in the U.S. from being U.S. citizens because their parents are not subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the argument's coming from. Just because you're in the U.S. does not mean you're subject to the jurisdiction.
Right.
And that's where the whole argument is. I don't think that an executive order would be able to hold up, but either way, it's going to get eyes on this actual issue, and that's probably mainly what he's trying to do. Is trying to stir up the shit pot in order to get people looking at it.
Yeah. All right. So in a related little, it's not really news because it happened on Twitter, but in a related.
Twitter's not.
It's the president. Yeah, I think it counts as news.
No. I don't mean what the president said. And this is a conversation that was going on between myself and a few other people. So this one guy who's like one of these partisan Democrat loyalists was trying to claim that Obama had something to do with gay marriage, and I was like, no, he didn't. The Supreme Court did. So
it just happened under his watch. That's all.
So he says, here's what the tweet actually said. This person, I don't know if this is male or female. There's no discernible avatar, and the name is, ambiguous. But this person says Barack was against gay marriage before he helped it become a reality. And I said, Obama didn't help gay marriage become a reality. The Supreme Court ruled on the question. So then this person comes back and says, did he veto it? And my response is, are you really this ignorant? A president cannot veto a ruling by the Supreme Court. And then I tweeted out 2 screenshots of this saying, this is what the people who say that Green Party members don't understand government or politics think. These are the people who tell us we don't understand how our government works or how politics works, and this idiot doesn't even know that a president can't veto a ruling by the Supreme Court. So there you go.
I'm very much a libertarian in mindset. Not big L, of course. I'm not Libertarian Party libertarian. I'm just
give me all your guns and all your drugs. Fuck the government.
Yeah.
Not that libertarian.
No, I'm not that libertarian. But I think if you love someone who's not the opposite sex of you, I don't care. It's not affecting me.
Right.
But I completely get where you're coming from. You're dealing with people who are just going to sit there and misconstrue everything in that has to do with the Constitution. Like, I read the Constitution either in audiobook style format, because they actually have readings of the Constitution on YouTube, or I'll read through this little pamphlet I got about the U.S. Constitution. I forget where I got this. That has the entire U.S. Constitution in it. Mm-hmm. And I do that at least once a year. I want to do it more often than that. But just to make sure that I'm understanding what's going on in here. Because if I'm going to advocate for following this more closely, I should at least know what's in there.
Right.
And if they're going to state that, hey, this is how it should be, they should at least know what's already in existence. In fact, that's one of the biggest issues I have with gun control advocates. Most of the time, they don't know what's already there, and most of what they're asking for is already there, just not in the form that's as obvious as they want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Or they think it's going to have a bigger effect than it already has.
Well, in reference to the term libertarian, of course, the Libertarian Party was founded in December of 1971, and prior to that time, in the Anglosphere, in every English-speaking country, the term libertarian was taken to mean a civil libertarian, a person who supports civil liberties and opposes authoritarianism. But since the founding of the Libertarian Party, which I think probably should have called themselves the Objectivist Party or the Neo-Objectivist Party, since...
Yeah, it's definitely starting to get that way.
Yeah. I mean, Ayn Rand said they weren't really objectivists, and I'm not really sure why she said that, because I think she's an idiot, and I've read some of her stuff, but most of what I read by her was, like, back in the mid-'80s or something, so I don't remember everything exactly, but I'm doing an article at the moment where I'm talking about one of her essays on the ethic of objectivism, and I've kind of torn it apart. Anyway, so I mean, that one I've read more recently, but anyway, since the founding of this party, because they co-opted the name libertarian, most, in the United States at least, if you're a civil libertarian, you have to qualify that when you call yourself libertarian by either not capitalizing the L in libertarian. This only works in print, of course, and people still don't understand. I mean, I've had people...
Or you specify it like I did.
Or you qualify it by some modifier like civil, as in civil libertarian. So, I mean, I'm a left libertarian, and people don't understand what I mean because they have no conception of any meaning to the word libertarian before the Libertarian Party was formed, and they're like, how can you be a left libertarian? The libertarians want, laissez-faire capitalism, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I didn't say I was a Libertarian Party member. I said I'm a left libertarian. I'm a leftist, and I am a civil libertarian. I oppose authoritarianism. I support civil liberties, So
the libertarians should just change their name to the Anarchist Party at this point.
Well, they're not quite anarchists.
Yeah, they're not.
They're getting there.
Yeah, they're definitely. Well, it depends on how you look at it, because definitely a lot more of their party members are leaning more and more towards ANCOM.
ANCAP.
ANCAP. Not ANCOM.
Yeah.
My mistake. Misspoke.
But you also have a fair number of members of the Libertarian Party who, when you start talking, they claim that they support civil liberties, but you start talking to them about it, and it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly that they're not really civil libertarians. They want the states to decide on questions of civil liberties rather than the federal government. And I'm like, okay, so if that were the case, interracial marriage would still be illegal, same-sex marriage would still be illegal, abortion would still be illegal, all kinds of shit would still be illegal. How is this in support of civil liberties?
Well, there's a lot of, like, I can kind of sympathize with that. There are some things that I would prefer to leave up to the states, like legalization of marijuana.
Well,
I want to shrink the federal government, like have the federal government just make it legal, but then the states can decide whether or not they actually do something like that. So I don't know. I like the idea of states deciding things because that's your local area, and they know what's better for that state, essentially.
The way I see it,
in a perfect world, at least.
The way I see it, the closer to the local level that you get, the more easily is not the right word, but I'll just use it for now. The more easily it should be to pass legislation, because at the local level, it affects a smaller group, but you also know more what that level is. However, at the higher levels, though, it should take a lot more effort to get anything passed. When something does get passed, it should hold the weight that something that is difficult to pass holds.
Well, I'm of mixed emotions, mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I do believe in decentralization. I think that our government needs I would really like to see the United States split into several confederated regions, so that the regions are part of a confederation rather than a federal system. But at the same time, I don't think our country is ready for that at this point in time. I think we need some serious attention paid to our educational system, and I think it would take at least 2 and probably more like 3 or 4 generations after the education system has been reformed before we could even start thinking about that, because that, we're talking about places like Texas where, I'm a native Texan, so I can say whatever the fuck I want about it. But the state government of Texas is Baptist-ridden. They've got all this anti-gay, anti-trans, anti-abortion, all kinds of shit in their state government because the state government is, for the most part, Baptist-ridden. I mean, the governor is Roman Catholic, but most of the people in the state government are Southern Baptists, and in Texas, it's pretty fundamentalist type attitudes. So, yeah, I don't think we need to entrust those people with the authority to tell other people what they can and cannot do, because they're going to base a lot of it on their religious biases. This is one of the reasons I don't support the idea of dry counties and blue laws, because those laws are all made because of somebody's religious beliefs, and I think that's a violation of the non-establishment clause in the First Amendment.
Yeah, also, but we could even take this up to a lot wider expanse. Like federally, the reason why the Electoral College exists is so that New York and California don't run the whole country.
Right. And that's another thing. You've heard a lot of this since the election in 2016, with a lot of Democrats howling about the Electoral College, and it was founded for racist reasons, and they start talking about that, 2/5 of a person thing, or whatever, 3/5 of a person, and they're trying to make out like that was done for racist reasons. Well, maybe so, but if it were, it was done by the northern states because they didn't want the southern states to count the slaves as people to determine how many representatives they had and how many electoral votes they had. So, yeah.
Yeah, but there's also like the issue. I'm in one of those states where like one side of the state is definitely blue, and the other side of the state is red.
Yeah.
Washington, like right across the mountains, it goes from cities and coastal shit to farmland. These two sides of the state need different things. What they need are completely different than what Spokane needs is completely different than what Seattle needs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. This is one of the reasons that I advocate for the Electoral College. I mean, certainly James Madison had a point in Federalist number 10 where he talked about dictatorship of the majority, but there's also the fact that, the Everglades of Florida, the swamps of Louisiana, and the so-called coastal plains, that means swamps, of Texas, they are all swampland, more or less, but they have different needs and concerns from one another, and that doesn't even take into account, the mountains of the Ozarks and the Ouachitas and the Appalachians and the Cascades, the Rockies. They all have different needs from the swamps and different from one another. The same is true of the deserts in like the American Southwest. You got the forested areas in the east there, and in the middle of the country you've got the high desert as opposed to the low desert out in the southwest. You've got the big sky country up in Montana and Idaho and what all up there. So I mean, every one of these places has different ecosystems, different economies, different needs and concerns, and they need to have those things considered. But if you have this thing where it's just a popularity contest, then you're going to have candidates who fly over large sections of the country and just go to the 5 or 6 or 7 largest population centers so that they can campaign there. And not only are they not going to campaign in these other places, they're going to disregard any of the needs and concerns of these places because they don't have to worry about being reelected by those people. They only have to worry about the, New York City and Dallas-Fort Worth and Houston and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Chicago. Basically, that's it.
Yeah, I grew up in California, so keep that in mind when I say this. But growing up, I had no idea what the electoral college was for, and since I'm in California, I obviously went to a school that definitely leans liberal. As a result, I eventually got to the point where I had the thought of, well, we don't need the electoral college anymore because when it was made, it made sense. You could easily pass by people in small areas. Now we have the TV. We can get the information to anyone at any point. But I've come back from that and realized how important it really is to have the electoral college. Just because because of the fact that you would not need to necessarily fly there in order to get your message out there, does not mean that you don't need to put your attention to that area.
Right.
The electoral college means that Florida, the People's Republic of California, New York, these places don't decide for the rest of the everything. That what the fuck? Apparently, we have a Chinese invasion in the LSD chat.
Oh, fun.
Okay, so I also want to add to the serious conversation while I figure out what this guy's doing. I guess he can post her. I don't know what you're gonna post other than text. You're not a moderator. Anyways. I do want to reform to the Electoral College, though, because there is a surprisingly high amount of states where the electorates can actually just vote any way that they want, and they don't actually have to look at the vote within their state. So I think that's an issue.
Huh.
Because generally how it works, like in my state, the electorates have to vote based on the split between... based on like how the state voted, so like this many people voted Republican, this many people voted Democrat. So like let's say there's 3. I don't remember how many there are for my state, but let's say there's 3. And oh no.
Okay, it's a communist.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I can ignore it. And so. So let's say like 1/3. If there's 3 electorate votes, and 1/3 of the people vote Republican and 2/3 of the people vote Democrat, then they'll do one person puts out their electorate vote for Republican, and then the other two put out the electorate vote for Democrat.
I don't get what this guy's spamming for. Why are you spamming, huh? I mean, if you want to talk about this sometime, you're more than welcome to come on my channel. We'll discuss it. But,
Yeah.
Pop into the Discord.
yeah.
Yeah, pop into the Discord, see how that works out for you.
Goodness.
We got about 25 minutes before the boys' show.
Yeah. I usually
Dude,
go for
seriously,
about
stop
10 more
spamming.
minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
Actually, we don't need to, I mean, we can have H.R. 676, the National Improved and Expanded Medicare for All Act, which would combine all of the current systems that are federal, as well as dispense with private for-profit insurance companies into one, and we don't actually need to defund anything or increase any taxes, because we have a fiat currency. This ain't the Weimar Republic. We don't have a currency that's backed by money, by a commodity anymore, which means that inflating the currency doesn't necessarily inflate prices or raise the cost of living. Now, if we still had a gold-backed currency, it would, but we don't. So all that shit about the Weimar Republic and Venezuela printing money, blah, 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 it doesn't apply to us. We have a fiat currency.
Yeah, well, what we do,
Okay.
links in the description, you fucking fuck.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I need to put your link over in my channel as well, this video description. And say, this is a simulcast, yay.
Well, Rimshee and I were actually talking about that before the show. We don't think it actually counts as a simulcast because it's on the same platform. It's different channels.
We went with dualcast.
Dualcast, yeah.
Okay, dualcast.
I should probably...
Looks like our friend is now in the server.
Cool.
Oh my god, what the fuck? Come on, type right.
I'm just gonna toss a little warning to everybody. Yeah. Do you guys know
we
what
don't
guests are going to
discriminate,
be
we
on?
just shitpost.
Alright. What? I do, in my Discord. Pause, Aline.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
Our show's based on the YouTube Saints show, so we just use their Discord because that's where we all started.
Yeah, it's the Let's Just Say to Discord. It's where the mods give you Discord news and everything. So we do the pre-show, and we give people news about what the changes are and things that they need to do and how to help other people out that are joining in. Mods aren't necessarily available.
And I just talk politics.
We just talk shit.
Yep. We talk about chicks that eat entire bottles of Wheatley.
I talk about social, political, economic, and other philosophical things for the most part on my channel. So, I mean, if you're into that, come check me out at Giovanna Liviana channel. And, I don't just stream, I do videos as well. Although I haven't done a lot recently. I did 2 this past week, which is probably the most I've done in several months. But I am working on doing research right now for a new video, which once I get everything researched and written, I'll be recording that and putting it up as well.
I can see people are already ready to have fun. If you check general of the YouTube Saints.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Since I'm also on your channel, I don't feel comfortable doing the whole outro that I usually do. This has been a fun spin-off game.
Yeah.
I think we're, yeah.
Yeah, I got to talk about my yeast infections.
Yeah. YouTube Saints coming up in about 20 minutes. I don't know who they have on as a guest, but whatever.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Been a good night. I'll see everybody next week.
Yep. Until next time, have fun, but stay safe.
All right.
And,
All right.
Oh, and check out the last podcast on the left.
and
Check out Discord.
I'm stopping my stream.
And we are transitioning out.
All right then.
You guys are muted. I'm muted.
Did you get the
We're clear.
transitions fixed, by the way? Forgot to
No,
ask.
not yet. I'm gonna try downloading them. I just gotta remember which ones I need to actually download.
You know, that avatar you used for me is a picture of purple Romulan Bud.
Hey, it's the one you sent me.
I thought you meant like as a thumbnail or something, because that's what I used it for.
Nope.
Oh my goodness.
It still works.
Alright, stream is stopped, and now I'm going to stop recording.